Scroll animations. The one thing that can make your website 100% fancier and 1000% cooler. Just a few boxes moving around here and there will definitely enhance your website in various ways, adding visual appeal, interactivity, and more engaging user experience. But aren't scroll animations super difficult to make? And how do we time them just right so they move at the same time the user scrolls over them? And won't they just lag behind, showing the element, then rapidly removing it, after which the fading or animation is done? Okay, we have to start somewhere so that we can tackle this tough assignment. Let's create some fancy sections we can scroll through. We will fill them with different kinds of elements, like titles, code examples, cards, and lists. After we have some markup generated, we shall proceed with the CSS. First, let's create an animation. I really like this fade-up animation where the element starts up hidden and tucked away some distance below its final resting place, after which it slowly fades up to it. We will create a class called AnimateFadeUp, where we will specify that animation and its duration. We can throw a timing function for a little bit of spice. Let's add that animation to our elements that we would like to fade. Okay, I see that the first elements animate alright, but they do it simultaneously. And by the time I scroll to the other sections, they have already animated their way onto the page. We can try with an event listener. In fact, there is one for scroll, right? We just need to add one to the window and get our elements. Then we map all of our elements where we get the window scroll position and compare it to every element's offset position. If it's bigger, we add a class. Oh wait, we've already added the animation. And wouldn't that run all the time? Even after the element has popped on the screen, it will still compare its position to the viewport and add a class. And imagine if we have a ton of elements, that would be a performance disaster. Even if we manage to target the elements with another selector and then proceed to add the animation class just at the time the user scrolls over it, we will still have animation issues. We have to add a separate listener for every element, and then after the class is added, we have to remove it. No, there has to be another way. Well, I've heard of a class with a very long name called the Intersection Observer. And now, despite its scary name, the Intersection Observer is actually fairly easy to use. As the name suggests, the class observes intersections of elements with the viewport or some other element. And it does it asynchronously, so it doesn't block or stagger any other process. After some condition is met, we can tell it to stop observing the element, and after all elements are gone, we can remove it entirely. The observer can be used in various ways, including lazy load images, implementation of infinite scrolling, or animating in elements when the user scrolls over them. Just what we needed. Let's create a new instance of the intersection observer. For the first parameter, we must pass a callback function that accepts two parameters, the observed elements and the observer. We can then go over each entry and see if it's intersecting with the thing we wanted to intersect with. But what is that exactly? By default, the observer registers intersections to the viewport. We can further specify where we want those intersections to happen with the second parameter, the options. We can pass a root, which is the element we want to intersect with, or we can leave it blank so that it implicitly selects the viewport. We can also pass the root margin property, which can set some boundaries to the intersections. For example, this string will intersect only in the exact vertical middle of the screen, while this string will extend the intersection detection 50% beyond the top and bottom border of the screen. Perfect for lazy loading, but for our case, we need to use this string, all zeros, because we need it to start at the border of the viewport. Or we can just omit it, because all zeros is the default value of the observer. Okay, now that we have an observer, we have to tell it what to observe. I have some elements that have the class AnimateFadeUp, and I want to target them all and add an animation. We just need to add a query selector, get all the elements that have that class, go over them, and then tell the observer to observe every last element of that list. But since the elements already have the animation class on them, I cannot add it again. Well, I can utilize the animation playState property. I can set it to be initially paused, and then when the observer detects it, I can add an inline style property that sets it to running. And since inline styles are more specific than classes, it will override the class property. After the observer has already intersected with that entry, we can add the unobserved method on it and pass the entry's target to remove it from the list. Yes, okay, that seems to work. I can now scroll and have my elements animate on every down scroll, but they appear just after hitting the boundary rect of the element, and I can see them pop out of existence just before animating in, and that is not the effect I want. Maybe I can add the animation fill mode property. I can pass the word backwards in there. It will instruct the element to apply the styles from the first key of the keyframes, or the 0%. That way, it will stay hidden and 2 ramps down until the animation finishes. I can also pass forwards if I want the element to keep the styles from the final frame of the keyframes, or the 100%. Or I can pass both to, well, do both things. For now, backwards will suffice. Right, now my animations don't pop in and out before the animation begins, but it still starts very fast. Wonder if I can delay it. Is there an animation delay property that allows me to pass a time value and delay the animation? Well, I guess there is. Cool. Now my animation starts sometime after I scrolled, so I can admire them fully. But still, the first 2 elements and all the cards show up at the same time. Well, I can stagger them by just passing a different delay to them as an inline style property. Now some of them will take more time to load and some of them less. And there you have it, a super easy way to add scroll animations without any external library. Thank you for watching, make sure to check the blog before you leave, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!